If you're new here, my name is Davine, and I'm homeschooling 4 kids ages ages 12, 13, and 15 this year, and we are studying world geography. We have been for at least a year now. And as we are studying the different countries of the world, I am pulling extra resources on top of the curriculum that we're using just because I have a range of kids with different reading levels and things like that. And so I give them some options in their choices on what they would like to read, as well as in picking the read alouds that I do with them. Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. So today I have quite a number of books to share with you. We have started studying the continent of Africa and all the countries, well, not all the countries, but a lot of the countries in Africa. So obviously there are a ton of countries in Africa, so it would be very hard to cover them all. However, I do have a collection of picture books, folktale, folklore, and some readers, read alouds, things that we are using in our homeschool as we are looking at this continent. As this is a large area, there are quite a few books here, so I hope I don't take too long to get through them all, but I do have quite a pile of both picture books and then readers and novels and things like that. I will be talking about the levels of the readers and read alouds, and that will come towards the end of the video. So I will put timestamps in the description box below if you're interested in a certain type of book, so you can jump around a bit. And before I get too far into this video, I will link links to all of the books mentioned in this video in the description box below, so you can check those out further if you're interested in any of them. Okay, so I have a pile of books here on my lap, so hopefully it won't look too awkward here. I'm going to start with Africa is Not a Country. And so this book here looks like this. And it says, enter into the daily life of children in the many countries of modern Africa. Countering stereotypes, Africa is Not a Country celebrates the extraordinary diversity of this vibrant continent as experienced by children at home, at school, at work, and at play. Lion Lights, my invention that made peace with lions. A Maasai's herder's duty is to protect his livestock. This is the true story of how one boy did his duty, solving a problem that had defeated wildlife experts for decades. That sounds like an interesting one. Mansa Musa? It is an evening of celebration in the village of Kabakangaba. Everyone has gathered to share stories and friendship. Young Kankan Musa settles himself by his elders. Then suddenly the night is filled with cries of slave raiders. Kankan runs to find his spear, but in a moment he is taken. When Kankan wakes, the world he has known is gone. Is he to be a slave, or will destiny carry this son of a proud people to a different future? Through this richly imagined tale of boyhood of Mansa Musa, one of Mali's most celebrated kings, the author takes us on a triumphant journey of self-discovery. Stunning illustrations, they capture the drama of young Kankan's story, the grandeur of Africa's ancient cities, and the timeless majesty of her lands and people. Bottle Tops, the Art of El Anatsui. Ghanaian sculptor El Anatsui has always written his own story. As an art student, he noticed that the works he was studying were grounded in European traditions. Curious about his own people's art history, El found stories in the fabrics they wore and the way they used recycled goods. He decided to tell these stories through his artwork. El experimented with different mediums. He fired broken clay pieces into pots and sculpted wood using a chainsaw. After coming across a discarded bag of bottle tops, El grew inspired by this new material. He disassembled, flattened, and reshaped the bottle tops, then stitched them together with wire. The results were large flowing tapestries that tell stories about history and culture and linked people together. Today, Elle's bottle top sculptures are showcased all over the world, fascinating audiences everywhere. So, true story here. Boundless Grace. Families are what you make them. When Grace gets the opportunity to go to Africa and visit her father and his new family, she feels a little strange. They have the perfect storybook family without Grace. Is there any room for her? But Nana is right. Families are what you make of them. And Grace is going to make the most of hers. So this is a sequel to the award-winning Amazing Grace. How to Be an Elephant. Growing up in the African wild. So more of a science book or nature study or whatnot. The savannah is not an easy place to live, even for African elephants, the largest land animals on Earth. If it's a challenge for these 7,000-pound giants, what's it like for their newborn babies? An infant elephant has precious little time to learn the incredible array of skills that are necessary to keep up, from projecting their voice across 10-octave range to using the 100,000 muscles in her trunk to stay hydrated. But this giant to be has the perfect classroom, a family herd made up of her mother, sisters, cousins, and aunts. With their help and protection, she'll learn how to survive, how to thrive, and how to be an elephant. Mama Mitty. One woman, one seed, one hope for the future. Wangari grew up in the shadows of Mount Kenya, listening to the stories about the people and land around her. Though the trees towered over her, she had loved them for as long as she could remember. So strong, so beautiful, how the trees made her smile. Wangari planted trees one by one to refresh her spirit. When the women came to her for help with their families, she told them to do the same. Soon the countryside was filled with trees. Kenya was strong once more. Wangari had changed her country tree by tree. Donna Jo Napoli tells a story inspired by the life of the 2004 Nobel Peace Prize recipient, Wangari Maathai, that will touch the hearts and spirits of all who read it. All right, so also a true story. One plastic bag is Satu Cisse and the Recycling Woman of the Gambia. Plastic bags are cheap and easy to use, but what happens when a big bag breaks or is no longer needed? In Najau, Gambia, people simply dropped the bags and went on their way. One plastic bag became 2, and then 10, and then 100. The bags accumulated in ugly heaps alongside roads. Water pooled in them, bringing mosquitoes and disease. Some bags were burned, leaving behind a terrible smell. Some were buried, but they strangled gardens. They killed livestock that tried to eat them. Something had to change. Isatu Cisse was that change. She found a way to recycle the bags and transform her community. This inspirational true story shows how one person's actions really can make a difference in our worlds. Hector, a boy, a protest, and the photograph that changed apartheid. Hector, an ordinary boy. Antoinette, his older sister. Sam, a photojournalist. 3 perspectives on June 16, 1976, the day a peaceful student protest turned deadly and a photograph sparked change in South Africa. With powerful sequential art, debut author illustrator Adrian Wright tells Hector Peterson's story and recounts the heartbreaking events that woke up the world and helped lead to the end of South Africa's apartheid. Nana Akua goes to school. Next Monday is Grandparents' Day at school, and Zura is bringing her favorite person in the whole universe, Nana Akura. But what will her classmates think about the traditional tribal marks on Nana's face? Will they be frightened? What if they're mean to Nana? Luckily, Nana Akua knows just what to do. This moving picture book is a simple reminder that what makes us different is what makes us special. Binto's braids. Binto wants braids, pretty braids, just like her older sister and the other woman in her family. Long braids woven with gold coins and seashells, but she's too young for braids. Instead, all she has are 4 little tufts of hair. All she ever gets are cornrows. However, when Binto saves the lives of her 2 young cousins and is offered a reward of her choosing, Binto discovers that true beauty comes in many different forms. Rich earthly illustrations and a heartwarming story capture the spirit of a West African village in this wise tale about a girl who learns she's perfect just the way she is. Seeds of Change. As a young girl in Kenya, Wangari was taught to respect nature. She grew up loving the land, plants, and animals that surrounded her. From the giant mugumu trees, her people, the Kikuyu, revered, to the tiny tadpoles that swam in the river. Although most Kenyan girls were not educated, curious, hardworking Wangari was allowed to go to school. There, her mind sprouted like a seed. She excelled at science and went on to study in the United States. After returning home, Wangari blazed a trail across Kenya, using her knowledge and compassion to promote the rights of her countrywomen and to help save the land one tree at a time. All right, so another story about Wangari. My name is Sengal, and I have to say I accidentally had this book in another video that was not about Africa, but it does belong in this book haul. So I don't know how I missed it when I was doing it before. But some of the books are harder to place in the right countries sometimes. All right, because this is about Sudan. My name is Sengal, or I don't know, maybe I cut it out before I put it in the video. The old man hugged him, and Sengal could feel the bones in his thin arms. Remember, you will always be Dinka. You will be Sengal, even in America. Sengal is a refugee. Leaving behind his homeland of Sudan, where his father died in the war, he has little to call his own other than his own name, a Dinka name handed down proudly from his father and grandfather before him. When Sengal and his mother and sister arrive in the United States, everything seems very strange and unlike home. In this busy, noisy place, with its escalators and television sets and traffic and snow, Sengal quietly endures the fact that no one is able to pronounce his name. Lonely and homesick, he finally comes up with an ingenious solution to this problem, and in the process, he at last begins to feel at home. Okay, we have The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So this is the picture book version. And I am not going to put this out because we are in the middle of reading the young readers version. So we don't want to know the ending yet. So heroes can be any age. When William Kamwamba was 14 years old, living in a drought-ravaged area of Malawi in Africa, he pursued a dream that brought electricity and running water to his desperately poor village. William had always been interested in how mechanical things worked, and after poring over old science textbooks, painstakingly teaching himself English so that he could understand them, he became determined to build a windmill. The people of his village called him crazy, but he knew he could succeed. Slowly but surely, he turned junkyard scraps into a functioning windmill and brought electricity to his home and eventually life-saving water to his village. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Let Freedom Reign. The amazing story of a true hero of our times. Discover how a little boy whose father called him troublemaker grew up to fight apartheid, became South Africa's first Black president, and campaigned for freedom and justice throughout the world. The Day of Ahmed's Secret. Ahmed has a secret, and all day long his secret will be like a friend to him. Tonight he will tell it to his family, but first he has work to do. Throughout the bustling city of Cairo, Ahmed rides his donkey cart, up streets crowded with cars and camels, down alleyways filled with merchant stalls, past buildings 1,000 years old. The sights and sound of his city fill the day. When at last his work is done and Ahmed hurries home, young readers will be as excited to hear his secret as Ahmed is to tell it. Okay, so next I have 2 books that are sort of more, I don't know, folklore or poetry or things like that. So we have Ashantu to Zulu, African Traditions. And so I believe this book, I'm not sure, it might be in, we have Bookshark. It could be Sunlight or Bookshark F suggestion. So We're going to be reading this in our morning basket. And then we have Beat the Story Drum, Pum Pum, also one that we will be reading in our morning basket. Okay, so it says, here are 5 Nigerian folk tales retold in language as rhythmic as the beat of the story drum and illustrated with vibrant, evocative woodcuts. Okay, so next I am more into the novel readers section. First, I'm going to show 2 graphic novels that I'm having my kids pick from. I'm having them each read one of these graphic novels as part of their school. So the 2 that I have are When Stars Are Scattered. So this is, let's see, I'm going to show you inside here. It is based in a refugee camp in Kenya. Omar and his younger brother Hassan have spent most of their lives in Dandub, a refugee camp in Kenya. Life is hard there, never enough food, achingly dull, and without access to the medical care Omar's nonverbal brother needs. So when Omar has the opportunity to go to school, he knows it might be a chance to change their future. But it would also mean leaving his brother, his only remaining family member, every day. Heartbreak, hope, and gentle humor exist together in this graphic novel about a childhood spent waiting and a young man who is able to create a sense of family and home in the most difficult of settings. It's an intimate, important, unforgettable look at the day-to-day life of a refugee as told to New York Times bestselling author-artist Victoria Jameson by Omar Mohammed, the Somali man who lived in the story and went on to help so many other refugees. So we have that one. And then the other one we have is Illegal. And I believe they are coming from Ghana. Okay, Ibo is alone. His brother Kwame has disappeared, and Ibo knows it can only be to attempt the hazardous journey to Europe and a better life, the same journey their sister embarked on months ago. But Ibo refuses to be left behind in Ghana. Ibo's epic quest takes him across the Sahara Desert to the dangerous streets of Tripoli and finally out to the merciless sea. But with every step, he holds on to his hope for a new life and a reunion with his family. So this powerfully moving graphic novel by New York Times bestseller author Ian Coffer and the team behind the Artemis Fowl graphic novels explores the current plight of immigrants searching for a new beginning. Okay, so last I have my pile of readers, read alouds, things like that. I'll let you know which ones I decided I'm going to be reading aloud to my kids or which ones we are. I'll also tell you like the reading level, the Lex style reading level. I'll put a video below to show you the chart so you can kind of tell what the Lex style reading level means. So the first one I have here is the red pencil. And this is interesting because it is written in verse. So we have, Amara, look at me, Mama insists. She collects both of my hands in hers. The Janja weed attack without warning. If they ever come, run. Finally, Amara is 12. She wants to learn to read and write, to set free all the big ideas she finds herself sketching in the sand. But girls like Amara don't go to school. Still, she can't help but hope for something more. Her dreams are pushed aside when the Janja weed militia storms her small village, shattering her life as she knows it. As Amara starts a long journey toward a new life at a refugee camp, she feels her spirit slipping away, until the gift of one red pencil opens her mind and all kinds of possibilities. That one is a high interest, low level reading level for 620 and age range 9 to 12. And generally I'm going for like the lower reading level up to the higher reading level. All right, next we have A Long Walk to Water. We are currently listening to this. We got the audio version from our library. I'm going to say a lot of these books have some very hard topics. My kids are 12 and up, and so I feel like it's appropriate for them, but definitely check these books for sensitive topics before you start reading or having your kids listening to these without you. But we are really enjoying this. The kids are just on the edge of their seats. Every time we stop driving, because we're listening to it in the car, they're like, oh no, not another cliffhanger. So really enjoying this. It is a very short book, but I'll read the back here. It says, Naya goes to the pond to fetch water for her family. She walks 8 hours every day. Selva walks away from his war-torn village. He is a lost boy refugee, destined to cover Africa on foot, searching for his family in safety. 2 young people, 2 stories. 1 country, Sudan. This mesmerizing dual narrative follows 2 threads. one unfolding in 2008 and one in 1985, with one powerful message that even in a troubled country, determined survivors may find the future they are hoping for. So that one is Lexile level 720, grade level 5 to 7, and age level 10 plus. And that, like I said, we are doing as an audiobook in the car together. We have a girl named Disaster. 11-year-old Namo lives in a traditional village in Mozambique, where she doesn't quite fit in. When her family tries to force her into marrying a cruel man, she runs away to Zimbabwe, hoping to find the father she's never met. But what should have been a short boat trip across the border turns into a dangerous year-long adventure. As Namo struggles to escape challenges she never imagined facing, she must summon her innermost courage to ensure her survival. So that's Lexile 730, grade level 3 to 6, and age level 8 to 12. We have Mary Slessor, Forward into Calabar. This is a Christian Heroes Then and Now, so obviously a Christian book. Mary Slessor pondered David Livingstone's words. I don't care where we go as long as we go forward. I'm not going anywhere, Mary mused. I'm 27 years old. I work in a cotton mill 12 hours a day. God, Mary promised, send me somewhere, anywhere. Just send me to be a missionary. God would indeed answer the prayer of the fiery red-haired woman from Scotland. For 39 years, Mary Slessor would labor in love among the unreached, often treacherous tribes of Africa's Calabar region. Braving sickness, danger, and death on all sides, Mary became the cherished white Ma to enter tribes. Her faith, steadfastness, and pioneering spirit brought her beloved adopted people their first brilliant contrasting example of the life and freedom found in Jesus Christ. Mary Slessor's story is an ageless epic of a woman who would stop at nothing to reach the lost with the life-giving gospel of Christ. So that is a grade level of 4 to 6 and age level 9 to 12. We'll probably do this as a read aloud. Journey to Joburg, a South African story. Ma lives and works in Johannesburg. Far from the village, 13-year-old Naledi and her younger brother Tyro call home. When their baby sister suddenly becomes very sick, Naledi and Tyro know that they need to bring their mother back in order to save their sister's life. Bravely, secretly, they set out on the long journey to the big city to find Ma. It isn't until they finally reach Joburg that they see up close what life is like for Black citizens across South Africa and begin to really question the unfair and dangerous laws of apartheid. Oh, that's the so very short. This is a very short, thin book. And that is Lexile 760, grade level 5 to 7, ages 8 to 12. It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. Trevor Noah, host of The Daily Show on Comedy Central, shares his remarkable story of growing up in South Africa with a Black South African mother and a white European father at a time when it was against the law for mixed-race children to exist. But he did exist, and from the beginning, the often misbehaved Trevor used his keen smarts and humor to navigate a harsh life under a racist government. In a country where racism banned Blacks from social, educational, and economic opportunity, Trevor surmounted staggering obstacles and created a promising future for himself, thanks to his mom's unwavering love and indomitable will. This honest and poignant memoir will astound and inspire readers as well as offer a fascinating perspective on South Africa's tumultuous racial history. So this is the young reader edition. So this is Lexile 780, grade levels 5 to 6, and ages 10 to 15. And we will be doing this as a read aloud, most likely. Here's another one that I might have featured in another video accidentally. This is King of the Wind, the story of the Godolphin Arabian. It says, he was named Sham for the sun, this golden red stallion born in the Sultan of Morocco's stone stables. Upon his heel was a small white spot, the symbol of speed, but on his chest was the symbol of misfortune. Although he was as swift as desert wind, Sham's proud pedigree would be scorned all his life by cruel masters and owners. This is the classic story of Sham and his friend, the stable boy Agba. Their adventures take them from the sands of the Sahara to the royal courts of France and finally to the green pastures and stately homes of England. For Shams was the renowned Godolphin Arabian, whose blood flows through the veins of most every superior thoroughbred. Shams' speed, like his story, has become legendary. So that is Lexile 830 and grades 3 to 7, ages 9 to 11. We have The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, also the Young Readers Edition. We have been reading this, so we're about halfway through. I'm just reading it with my boys during our science time. It has been very interesting. Same thing, there are definitely some sensitive things happen in here. People are very hungry and are starving, and it describes it, and it does have some hard themes. So just be aware of that. A life-changing plan. When William Kamwamba was a young teen, a terrible famine struck his tiny village in Malawi, Africa. The loss of crops finally left his family with nothing to eat or sell. Without money, William was forced to drop out of school. Fortunately, William found hope in the village library. There he came up with an idea that would change the lives of the people around him. He would build a windmill. Made from junkyard scraps, William's amazing creation would bring electricity to his home. It would help his family pump the water they needed to farm the land. And it would turn this ordinary African teenager into a hero known all around the world as the boy who harnessed the wind. So that is Lexile 860, grade level 5 to 9, and like a 5.8 reading level. I don't have the age level there. Listening for Lions. If you are among evil people, you must be like the lion, gathering strength and awaiting your time. Africa is the only home Rachel Sheridan has ever known. But when influenza strikes down her missionary parents, she is left vulnerable, prey to her family's wicked neighbors. Surrounded by greed and lies, Rachel is entangled in a criminal scheme and sent to England, where she's forced to a life of deception. Like the lion, she must be patient and strong, awaiting the moment when she can take control of her own fate and find her way home again at last. So Lexile 900, grade level 5 to 6, and age level 9 to 12. We have Nelson Mandela, No Easy Walk to Freedom. This is the complete story. So this is obviously not the picture book. All right, we have known as Father of the Nation, Nelson Mandela fought against apartheid in South Africa. As a lawyer, Mandela worked tirelessly to free his country from an oppressive government. His brave actions resulted in his conviction, and he spent 27 years in jail. Even still, he did not lose his fighting spirit. Freed in 1990, he resumed his place as the leader of Black South Africa and continued to crusade for freedom. Against all odds, Mandela became the president of South Africa in the first all-race election. After his presidency came to an end, Mandela continued to fight for those who needed help. Nelson Mandela proved that with enough courage, perseverance, and strength of conviction, anything can be done. Nelson Mandela will forever be remembered as a hero. And so this one was Lexile 990. Grades 4 to 7, ages 9 to 12, and I have decided I'm going to do that as a read aloud because of its higher reading level, and I had several kids who are interested in that book, so that will be one of our read alouds at some point as well. I will link links to all of the books I can find down in the description box below if you want to see any of these. Thank you so much for coming today. If you like videos like this, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, I hope to see you all in a future video. Bye, everyone.